Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be making for you today is cabbage soup, also known as Lobscouse. And for those of you who's wondering, what is Lobscouse? Well, Lobscouse years ago, of course, people had big families, and it was a cabbage soup that was made in a big boiler, and it went and fed many people, of course, because of the big families. So what we'll do now is get started and show you the ingredients. And also in the fall of the year, always scream out soups. And this time of the year is when the farmers are starting to harvest most of their crop. And of course, as you can see, I got cabbage, potato, turnip, parsnip, carrot, and some celery right there. And this is mainly what's going to be in the soup. I also got some salt ribs, which I do have on Bonita's Kitchen, browning salt, pork and beef, if you need to know what that is. And that's going to be the base of our soup. Most people years ago would use this in their soup because it'll flavour the pot, or after a Jiggs dinner would use the broth from that. But this is what we're going to start our soup with today. So before I get started talking about all the vegetables and what we need to do, I want to get this, I got pork ribs, salt pork ribs that I'm going to be using. I've had it soaking for several hours. You could soak it overnight, that's fine as well. If you don't have salt pork or salt beef, you can use a ham bone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it directly into my pot. And I'm going to add 8 cups of water first. So that's our salt pork ribs that I'm putting in there. Again, you can use salt beef or ham bone that you've cooked your baked ham. I'm starting it off with 8 cups of water only because I wanted to start boiling this beef and getting it part cooked before I start the next step. So put that on medium to high heat. So just remember that your salt pork ribs or your salt beef or your ham bone, cook it on medium to high heat for about 1 hour. And then after, what we'll do, we will drain some of the water off because we don't want it too salty. So I have chopped up all of my vegetables in advance because there's a lot of vegetables that goes in Lobscouse. I love parsnip. For those of you that probably haven't had parsnip before, it's a very light color vegetable and it's sweet. And it really helps that soup have that nice flavor. Cut it up in small pieces, all of your vegetables, your parsnip, turnip, carrot, and your cabbage is in just pieces and little chunks. And I soaked it overnight. The potatoes, it takes off some of the starch, even though we do need a little bit of it, because Lobscouse is also known as a thicker soup. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I also got some celery and a couple of onions. And again, you could use as much vegetables as you want. It all depends on how big of a family you got, or if you wanted to bottle it afterwards to have it you know, for eating whenever you like to have some soup. When I meant that you could add, it was a thicker soup, some people added rice, which that's what I'm going to do today, and some people added a little bit of a cream, not a cream sauce, but flour mixed in water and put into the soup while it was boiling, and it made it a little bit thicker, almost, you know, like a stew. But I don't want it with that texture, so that's why I'm going to use a rice, and as we go you'll see that it's very nice. Okay, so we're ready for our next step of our Lobscouse. My pork ribs, salt pork ribs, are cooked, so I'm going to drain half of the water off of this pot. Now normally when it's boiling it'll boil down that little bit more, so it'll lessen the amount of water, so you'll know. And then after, you'll taste the pot water just to see if it's too salty. So now that I got half of the water drained off, and you'll know when you start yours, I'm going to just have a little taste of this broth. And to me that's still a little bit of salt in there, but I'm going to dilute it now with my water, and I'm going to use some vegetable broth, but it's not too bad. To me it's perfect, but it's still got that little taste. This is a nice sound of my boiler just boiling there, and I can smell that salt beef. It's absolutely delicious. Or I'm using salt pork ribs. But before I get started now adding in the water, you can also make this soup or lobscouse with your leftover Jiggs dinner broth. And then you'll have some salt beef left over from that, and you can not do this stage because you don't need to have extra salt beef. But if you don't have a Jiggs dinner and you don't have the salt beef that's pre-cooked, this is the way to go, and it's very delicious. So what we'll do now is add in about 3 more cups of water, and I'm going to add in about 3.5 cups of vegetable broth, or you can add in all vegetable broth. That's totally up to you. So now I'm going to add in more water, and that was 3.5 cups, and my vegetable stock. Now, as well, and I'm giving you tons of options here for making your soup. You need a large boiler too, and don't be afraid to use a canning bowler because, I mean, lots of soup is good. But if you don't have leftover Jiggs dinner broth and you don't have salt beef and you just want to make it from scratch, you can use sea salt and just have the water and about a tablespoonful of sea salt. The fall of the year, I love making soups because this is flu season. Of course, we all know that we don't want that. So a great way to help eliminate it is by making yourself soups. I'm going to test this broth again because now that I got part salt beef or salt pork ribs, my vegetable broth and water, I want to see what it tastes like. That's delicious. I don't need to add any more salt. What I'm going to do now is add in my chopped cabbage. Okay, so what we're going to start doing now, you're going to carefully start adding in your chopped cabbage. Now, for those of you that probably have never cooked cabbage before, or have only done it for Jiggs dinner, cabbage will wilt down. So what looks like a lot of cabbage, and this is a half of a medium cabbage chopped, it will go down to almost a quarter of what I'm putting in there. So continue putting in all of your cabbage. So now that we got our cabbage in there, you just stir it in a little tiny bit, to put the lid on it and leave it for 15 minutes until it starts to boil again and wilt down the cabbage. Okay, so I'm going to turn down my heat on this boiler to medium to low and let it simmer nice. And what I'm going to do next is add in my onions and my celery, drain off the water off the vegetables, and then we'll get going on it. So now I'm going to strain off the vegetables, and we got the onions and the celery and cabbage now already in the pot. It smells absolutely delicious, all these fresh local vegetables. Okay, so we will stir in the onions and the celery first, and then I'm going to top it because I want all this to cook about the same time and simmer on medium to low, and that way it'll get all the flavors of all the vegetables and the cabbage and the beef all in together. So we're going to stir this in. Okay, now that all of our vegetables are in there, we're going to be putting in a few pinches of pepper. Of course, if you know, after all of these videos, I like my pepper. So you add in as much as you like. It's to your taste. And 1/3 cup of rice. And again, you could use whatever rice that you like. You could use brown rice, minute rice, or long grain rice. It doesn't matter. It'll all taste just as delicious in this. So what we'll do is put the lid back on there, let it cook for about 45 minutes, and then we're going to check it and stir it in between. at the halfway stage of our cooking of our soup. So what I'm going to do now is stir it, and I'm going to add in a few stalks of thyme. That's optional if you don't want to add it in there, but I always find that thyme just gives it that fresh flavor, you know, for your soups. And as you can see, it's coming along really nice. And I'm going to have a little sip. See how it's tasting. Absolutely delicious. So we got 30 more minutes and then we'll start scooping. Okay, as you can see, it looks like our lobscouse now is ready to scoop up a nice helping. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Absolutely delicious here. Okay, so I'm going to get a nice helping here of this soup. But while I'm scooping it up, of course you could have cut the meat into small pieces, but for now I'm just going to put one piece into my bowl there. This is a soup that my mom cooked quite often because it fed all of her family, which 5 girls and her husband, and my dad was a local vegetable farmer, so we had lots of vegetables, and again we enjoyed this soup quite often. Okay, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so now this is what it looks like, and I'm going to of course top mine with another little taste of thyme and a couple of pinches of black pepper. I got homemade fresh bread with butter on it, and my lobscouse, I mean, this is as good as it gets. Now I'm going to add a little taste of our soup. Let's take a little bit of the vegetable and cabbage and some of the juice. Absolutely delicious. So, and what's lobscouse you don't eat, you can bottle it. Put it in your mason jars, have it for up to 7 days if you wanted to eat it all week long, or just seal it properly by following the canning process, and you can have it for a long time. You can also find my homemade bread on Bonita's Kitchen and the brining of the salt pork ribs and beef on there if you want to make your own. So this is how easy it is to make your own cabbage soup, known also as lobscouse. Just quick and easy as this. And if you haven't already done so, you can visit me on my YouTube station, and you can subscribe at the top right hand corner. You hit the subscribe button, it will prompt you to what to do. You can also visit me on my webpage, www.bonitaskitchen.com, my Facebook page, and on Twitter. And please leave me a message. Let me know what you thought of this dish and many more. So this ends our episode for cabbage soup, lobscouse today. From my kitchen to yours, you have a wonderful day.